So Chris, tell us a little bit about Ripple. It's similar to Bitcoin in some ways. It improves on Bitcoin in other ways. Could you kind of just give us a basic overview?
Sure. So there's sort of two things here. There's the Ripple protocol, and then there's Ripple Labs. So the Ripple protocol, like Bitcoin, is an open source protocol that anybody can use. You don't have to pay Ripple Labs a fee or license anything. It really is like a public good. We don't own it, we built it, but it has now been released to the world. And the protocol is really three things. So some ways similar to the Bitcoin protocol, some ways very different. The way we view this is, first and foremost, this should be a distributed payments protocol. That sort of comes first before the math-based currency. We think that's really what the world needs, this idea of an internet for value, which we can talk about. Second, it is a math-based currency. Like Bitcoin, math-based currency simply means a currency without a counterparty, which is a really unique thing in the world. It plays a really, really unique and important role in building an internet for value. And then third, very differently from Bitcoin, because Ripple is value agnostic, you can put anything in there. You can put Bitcoins themselves in there, you can put airline miles, dollar, euro, yuan, real, anything can be in Ripple. It ends up being, we think, the world's first distributed currency exchange. So that's kind of the Ripple protocol, those three things. And then there's Ripple Labs, which in some ways is kind of like a red hat to Linux. We are a for-profit startup, but again, we don't own the protocol. We built the protocol. We're still the main contributors to the protocol, but we think that will change over time. We view our job as just sort of, husband through the development of this new network. And there's about 40 of us now, and we plan to really expand that aggressively so we can really build a fantastic protocol.
So at this point, Bitcoin has somewhat massive adoption for a startup currency. It's somewhat unprecedented, and it's the first time we've seen a system like this where you don't have to rely on a third party. So what inspired you to start Ripple, and what does it really bring that Bitcoin doesn't?
Yeah. So obviously we love the idea of Bitcoin. We think Bitcoin has been successful, very successful in what it was designed to do. It was designed to be a global currency without the ability to be debased. So again, a currency without a counterparty. And that's great. So it's a great store of value. We think it's a great instrument that now does not rely on a central bank. So kind of mission accomplished. But there's a lot of also talk about kind of where this technology can go as far as being an internet for value, sort of a payments protocol. And what that really means is now for the first time, can you architect the exchange of value like we've been exchanging information? Kind of our view of the world is already connected through an information web. That's great. The last 20 years, that's what the world has figured out how to do. But when it comes to value exchange, that's really still pre-internet until now, until this double spend problem that Bitcoin was the first to solve was kind of figured out. You really could not have the exchange of value work like the exchange of information. And that's a huge cost to the world. So that if you can now have a value exchange, value web that works like our information web, layer that on top of the information web, you flatten finance, you tremendously save costs globally, but more importantly, you raise the amount of commerce that can happen. So many parts of the world, Africa and China and South America, that have access to the internet, the information web, but no ability to act on that information through like a value web. And that's what we set out to do. So that's different than what Bitcoin set out to do. We set out explicitly to build an internet for value. So we think most people will use Ripple using dollars, euro, yen, the existing things of value that they're comfortable with. And Ripple, our currency, really plays more of a supporting role. So you can completely ignore it, or you can use it directly. The important thing is the value web plays the starring role, the math-based currency plays the supporting role. We think that's kind of the opposite of Bitcoin.